Amit Srivastava, Solutions Director, Agile Operations, CA Technologies, is our next speaker. So, a little bit about Amit Srivastava. He is a solution strategist at CA Technologies, and in his current role, he manages the CA Agile Operations business. Amit's expertise includes infrastructure management, planning, and architecting, which includes applications, cloud, infrastructure, and networks. So let's hear it for Amit.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Shamal. Thank you, Rohini. This is the opportunity, I think. SureBank, we have been engaged on various different fronts, consulting and suggesting what all can be done for your solutions. Thank you for this opportunity. This one about the operational challenges, and we foresee these kind of challenges whenever a new application come in the production environment. But honestly, the one which you have just mentioned, there are too many problems. I'll try to address some of them one by one. We will try to get to the level where you want to achieve to, but in the beginning itself, let me make it very clear. The application or user experience does not only restrict this to operations. This is not a problem of operations only. This is the problem of the application owners. This is the problem of the organization. Application, when it comes to the user experience, what developers expect from a user experience, what they want to achieve out of the user experience. And I was speaking to some of the people yesterday. This is interesting. There are information which they require in order to develop a better code. That is maybe crash information, crash analytics, especially when it comes to the mobile and those kind of devices. They want to understand where what users are seeing, how they are finding their applications, whether they are coming up slowly, whether they are coming up fast, the placement of the buttons and so on and so forth. They also want to understand at the same time it is not only about the crash information, but they also want to stitch it together to the backend code. If there is a problem, where is the problem? The operations team have a different requirement than development. They want to understand where it is breaking. If it is breaking in the network side or a server side, or if it is breaking from a application side itself. They want to understand if it breaks, nobody calls them up, they get to know as first-hand information. Probably this is more sensitive to them, getting a call from somebody complaining that their application is crashing. The next thing is about the business owners or the application owners. Everyone believes that the application which is developed by the developer has to run perfectly in the environment. But at the same time, this is not only about the problem of application running, this is also the problem of application adoption. User journeys are important. What application owners want to understand, I am sure SureBank people would understand this, appreciate this, that they want to understand where is the revenue leakage, where people are dropping. Are they finding their buttons appropriately on the screen, left hand operation, right hand operation, top of the button, down, button should be on top or should be down. So the user experience is also important for a application owner perspective. If all of these are the concerns in a user experience perspective, then I strongly recommend looking on something similar to what CA offers, is something called CA APM. Now, there are multiple ways to achieve user experience information. One way, which is a traditional way, everyone wants to understand what is their performance statistics, they want to understand how their business SLAs are moving to, they want to understand the actionable insights, what they need to do if something fails, can they find out the information within the source code, and they also want to understand how they can better prioritize their staff. At the same time, business people, they want to understand where is the heat map, people who are impacted, the sessions browser wise, the pages or the crashes information where they are crashing, or the pages taking more time, less time, render time, load time, those kind of stuff. this has to be simple, and this is what we do. Uh, Let's look at the whole requirement in a little more detailed fashion. I'm not going to really take it to very detailed about how do we capture this, but what information really is required in terms of getting a end-to-end visibility, especially when it comes to the applications. One has to follow transaction across all different applications, not only a front end, but there are back end systems, there are service calls, and those kind of other systems as well. A deep analytics generally help them understand where your application is breaking, whether it is on a mobile application, or it is on a server side, or it is on a service calls, or it is on a database calls. Within the application side itself, if there are methods which are impacting. The other portion which is also very important to understand is that how can I, and this is somewhat resonates with the problem what Rohini did mention about finding a problem. If you spend too much of time just struggling to locate where is the problem, your problems are keep piling up. A quick way of identifying where and when did that occur. I'll talk about that in a little detail as well later on. The full traceability helps you understand where exactly is the problem. The red dots, white, yellow dots. The trending also, sometimes they people believe that they can probably compromise on few things if they are simply actionables, but they don't want really to spend too much of time. If this is all right, if this is not going to be get worse. More so, if there is a problem and you fix it, what do you do after that? And this is very important part of a feedback system, which is also called DevOps. The whole DevOps strategy is about providing your first-hand information to the developers so that they can build. It is not only fixed for now, but it is also embedded in the code set and improved in the code set so that you don't get a problem further on. With this, let me take a little bit deeper look into what all Rohini talked about and SureBank was aspiring to achieve. The first and foremost is about simplicity. The people who are not trained enough, if they spend too much of time learning and then understanding and then manually correlating the information which is there on the on the screen becomes very tedious. A screen like this, I did not really put a older screen which would have given you some idea, but a tool like this, this red arrow, you see this up arrow, there is up arrow, I know this is a very small screen, but red arrow upward indicates that there is a problem and it is going to get worse. A down arrow with red says that the problem, but it is improving. A yellow with up, difficult, down is more so, it is more of a pivot thing, you drag and drop. My perspective is different. I am a true, L1 skilled resource, not more than that. If I am a L1 resource, I don't want to know where is my code breaking. I don't understand my methods. What I understand, which application, what location, who are impacted. I want to see it as a Delhi, Mumbai, Gujarat, whatever, these places, right? I want to understand which application, if it is a critical application, it is not so critical application. But for the developer, he wants to understand which method is breaking. If you tell him that my application which is supporting Gujarat is broken, it will not be, it will take a lot of time to actually figure out where it is broken. But if you can give him information that which module is breaking, that is more insightful and this is more simplified. The other one which Rohini talked about was the impact of change. The fast-paced, and thank you, Pratik talked about how quickly we can develop the application, and trust me, no operation guy wants that faster deployment in their operations production environment. Reason is that every time when there is a change, although it was tested well, production is always different, and if production is different, then it may create some problem. Most often that is the case. If you find everything is working fine and you suddenly start finding a performance degradation, there may also so happen that there was a patch, operating system, security, the application patch, some kind of topological change, some new method introduced would have happened yesterday, and that has started creating a problem. On screen itself, if you can find, there is a change and there is a performance degradation. On a screen itself, L1 guy understands this on a first hand, and they can probably on a first level itself can find a root cause and inform you. Now, you are saving a lot of time, the war room times, right? So, you spend 4 hours only finding where is the problem, you have saved it, and every single time you save in production, interestingly helps you strengthen your or clear those alarms, that 200 alarms. The next thing is about 200 alarms. Really, they are 200? Are they all critical? I last time I was speaking to somebody, there was a router and server and then application, and router broke down, and then all of them were monitored separately, and router broke down and application was not accessible, and all of them had alerts and service tickets. Because there will be a service ticket, it is obvious. If you don't correlate them, you can't get that information. And how can you correlate? You have too many tools, either you integrate or you have a unified vision. But more so, from an application perspective, it is about application correlation, you can say. Or I'll put it a little differently. I say, are they really important? There are times when application owners say, and one interesting point what was brought up, when application owners say that I want this parameter to be monitored, but many of the time they don't know what exactly it does. Now, you get an alert basis on that parameter as well, for which you even can't action. And if you can't action, why there is an alert? This one filters out unnecessary alert. Filtering out unnecessary alert frees up a lot of room for your own productivity. Now, this one, the last one is also about, this is also critical. Now, we are talking about APIs and talking about lot of SureBank is integrating, in fact, government is integrating with multiple different organizations and entities, and also to the private players, and PPP models coming up, lot of things are happening, right? And if they are integrating with different systems, do you have a complete visibility? You are restricted only to the border where it is integrating. Do you want to go inside that and find out, even if they are integrating, even if there is a API or API management, do you not want to see where it is really restricting your capability of serving or providing a user experience? So, this is one of the core components. So, these are a few of the approaches which can be taken by SureBank to quickly speed up the diagnostic process. One point which Rohini brought up was about unified monitoring, and trust me, the traditional way of monitoring is all about having siloed based solution, best of network monitoring, best of servers monitoring, best of X, best of Y. Now, having best of all, if you don't get to integrate all of them together, you will spend up like having too many resources, all of them are siloed, they don't talk to each other, and there is no information which is relevant, and there is nothing end to end. Let us make it a little simplified. If they can be unified, if they can provide the information about network, application, server, in the same example back where a router down, an application and a database and everything throwing an alarm because they are not accessible can be reduced, they can all club together, they can all be correlated together, and a single alarm and a single visibility. Now, you get to know on the screen itself what is down and what has caused the problem. There is a fair chance that you solve a problem without having the war room in probably more than 50% of time. This is a very critical piece about the cloud, and what we have seen in the environments that the technology adoptions are making it very complicated. There are on-prem infrastructure, there are off-prem or cloud infrastructure, and there are too many players as well. We used to have AWS, and we started talking about, or we started hearing about Azure, and then Nutanix, and then there are SaaS solutions, and then there are Docker's containers. Yesterday in panel discussion, the esteemed customer talked about the use or role of Dockers and containers, and then the other private, hybrid type of cloud environments as well. If they are the reality now, if you have started adopting these technologies now, it is going to be very difficult for you to manage. A comprehensive cloud monitoring has to be a strategy. You cannot avoid it. Now, the comprehensive does not necessarily mean that you need to have a single monitoring tool only for cloud and then the other for your own infrastructure, because that is not going to make sense. We use some of our cloud solutions and we find a lot of difficulty even when our local infrastructure is down, because you can't relate. This is a different tool and that one is a different tool which is monitoring. So, if you do not have a correlation, if it is not a single tool or the integrated tool, it is going to make it really a mess. The next thing is about which I briefly touched upon. How do you provide this information? You get a lot of information. I find a application problem, application memory leak, or I find a stall count high, some code level problem. I can fix it. The traditional way is fixing the problem right in the production, just there, fixing problem through patches most of the time. And I don't know Pratik talked about or not, this is called death by 1,000 cuts. There is the application developed and then you keep patching it and patching it and patching it and patching it and patching it, and over a period, and I can't name it, but we were with a customer some time back and they developed a very good solution, but they found too many problems over a period, and now their application is such that they don't know where it is, what it is happening there. They will have to rewrite it completely. Now, the point is that if you are fixing a problem here, you will have to rewrite it someday. Instead of this, if this is a production, if you have a right operating or operations tool, if you get a right insight, can you not feed it back to the developers or development people who can integrate that that scenarios, those situations into their test cases itself and improve their test quality? This is better to fix it here. It is better to fix it here than fixing here, because then you will have to rewrite the complete code. So, this is the whole method of feedback system. How it is achieved? By having some automated workflows, virtual services created, and some automated actions done on the basis of information which is taken out from your operational tools like APM or those kind of stuff. If they find a problem, they will have to provide a workflow mechanism to provide the information to the developers. Now, there are too many things here, and where you should start. You should, and this is a practice which operational people follow already. I just need to probably reiterate it for sure, Bank and Rohini and Shamal. See, the first thing first is that you need to understand your requirements, the quality requirements, the monitoring requirements, what do you want to achieve, how do you want to really, you need to set the standard or benchmark. First, you set a standard or benchmark. You need to understand the current processes, where you stand. If you have too many tools, what are the current challenges? Can you integrate them? Can you not integrate them? Is it wise to change it to the other solutions also? If you do that also, there more often what we see, and this third point is basically talking about that, is finding a relevant information. You decide what you want to monitor. Does it make sense for you to monitor cache buffer hit, or does it make to monitor different kind of parameters? There are too many parameters captured by your monitoring tool. Does it make sense for you? Is it important for you? You need to decide that for a performance improvement. And then of course, DevOps is basically about continual improvement by creating a channel back to the development team. And finally, you need to of course design a proper plan to roll it out. Now, this is not only about procuring a tool or deploying it, but also doing a complete, create a complete plan what you want to do out of that tool. It is not really the tool which helps. With this, I'll just quickly touch upon what we have. There are too many solutions, and don't get confused with too many solutions when I said it is going to be unified in a single solution and giving end to end. There are reasons to have a single point dotted solutions as well. However, there are areas. So, for example, a CA Unified Infrastructure Management covers pretty much everything from facilities to networks to storage to systems to database applications and to an extent services, and combined together with a single tool, which essentially means that you do not have to integrate too many tools as a single solution. APM, however, looks after the systems, databases and applications specific to the application and a deep dive diagnostic. AXA is a part of APM which talks about the experience and in a more user understandable languages. Then we have some specific tools called performance managers. They are only for mainly for the networks and a large scale network. Too much of data, you want really actionable data. And then there are other solutions which talk about, there are other modern solutions, and I did not really talk about this because it was not really covered in Shamal's or Rohini's use case, but there is a time which is coming up for SDN, and people are embracing SDN. Trust me, SDN is going to change the network the way it was, it is not only cloud, and if cloud itself or the application modernization itself does not complete when your infrastructure is not agile enough. SDN is about agility. Now, if you are thinking about adopting SDN, then this is the solution. This is a very interesting and a very comprehensive solution for monitoring the software defined networks. So this is the whole stack of what CA solution does. There is a portion called SOI which sits on top and gives you a service level views and health and risk of your services, which is more of a higher level business level dashboards and all. While there are too many tools, most of our customers find some of them are very relevant to their business, especially SureBank. If you ask me, I suggest this UIM and APM because they integrate well together. They give you a single dashboard and a single information end to end with a detailed deep dive diagnostic capabilities. With this, I'll just take you through some of the success stories. I will not really read upon all of them, but Innova Post, they safeguard their $14 million transactions every day. This is basically a Canada Post goes into Rackspace, is basically Rackspace. They use CAPM. NZ Bank, one of the primary bank in Australia, they use CAPM to a greater extent, not only CAPM for their own, for their distributed environment in mobile or modern applications, but also for their legacy applications or the mainframe based systems. There are a lot of users who are using cloud related monitoring for their AWS, for their Nutanix systems. Nutanix is changing a world very fast. So these are the customers who are using CA/UM solution, and for that matter, there are many customers who use both these solutions and they find it very valuable. So with this, my slide ends, and I'm open for questions if you have any. Using APM? There are many actually, APM and UM. There are many customers who are using APM. Some of them I can safely name, and some of them I probably need a little approval. So sorry, Infosys is one of them. HCL is another. On a service, sorry sir. Wipro I think also uses APM solution to extent. There are customers on the government space. There are few customers on banking who use this solution. Government space, the large projects, the ultra large projects of the country, I don't have to name it now, you understand. They use CAPM, they safeguard their application transactions using lot of states, they have come forward to adopt APM solution, for that matter UM solution as well, to understand what is their business, and especially if you look at it in the government and those kind of organizations where they are large, and if they are delivering, they have outsourced their infrastructure or operations to some extra person, they need to understand what is their end user experience and the SLAs. So that's where they use APM to a greater extent to understand the real-time transactions. How many transactions are happening within limit, out of limit, and all that stuff. There are banks, sir. With okay, can I have agentless monitoring? Yeah. So the question is, can we have agentless monitoring? Monitoring can be, so monitoring is agentless. There is no problem you can do agentless monitoring. There are few things. If you want a diagnostic, there is a problem. You understand there is a problem. Your transactions are failing or failed, single transaction, and then you want to find the exact root cause within the source code of the problem. You need to have agent, because the agent has to sit there and understand the whole component, discover those components within the application in order to find the exact root cause of the problem.
Okay, can I give you one scenario?
Sure.
One web-based application is communicating with an application server, and the application server is communicating with a DB2 server, for example. Application server is the web logic, and DB2 is the DBMS.
Okay.
My question is, say for example, you have talked about module identification, code identification, code level identification, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
For example, the WebLogic application server trying to send the request to the DBMS or database, and the DBMS itself may be fetching the data, but actually not able to, for any reason, send the reply to the AS.
Yeah.
Okay. And this process, say for example, is continuing.
Yeah.
Right, for which the end customer or the end user is not getting the response finally.
Understood.
So
Understood.
this is misleading in the sense,
Yeah.
It can be two-way thought process. One is the the intermediate switches, the ports might be having problems, or the DBMS itself having the problem to respond.
Yeah, so I understand. I think this question is, this is the exact use case of end-to-end visibility, and I sometimes include with some of our customers, think about the hard drives also crashing maybe, or the hard drives, they are mechanical and they start spilling, slow down maybe, and that may probably reduce a significant IOPS and you don't get the response. Now that either fails the transaction or violates the transaction from a overall transaction time. Now here it is, when you have a overall visibility, now that it is not a single tool which is involved. APM monitors and understands the code level problem and finds that the database call has created or taken the maximum time out of your overall transaction time. Now you are getting the input from UIM as well, which is monitoring the database, and that is also monitoring the network, and that is also monitoring the storage. Now that is also sending the report within the same and side by side, on a dashboard saying that your transaction time failed this, and your response time of your CPU utilization, memory utilization, database concurrency, there are multiple different parameters. This is also fine, network is also fine, but the output IOPS, the read IOPS of the database storage system itself has slowed down at that point of time. Now it is a significant information which is given to you within the single page. That information suggests you that there is a problem, excuse me, there is a high amount of problem possibility that the problem lies on a database end, because that is slowing down the performance of the read IOPS. Does it make sense? Yeah, it may have a multiple different dimensions. Exactly, and that's why you require to have this. So I said there may be, so what I'm saying is that network is also getting monitored through the same tool. So you have a network also in between. So you see side by side all of the facets of your IT, not only application, not only your databases, but also network gear. You also see the port level, performance, latency, jitters. There are so many other components. You are seeing side by side that information.
So in that case, you have to have preset time for each and every component in the entire transaction process.
Yep.
Response time has to be preset.
Yep.
And in that case only you can only report that this particular guy is taking more time to respond.
Not really. So what we have, actually I
Okay.
did not take you through the product. Allow me some time, maybe after the session or
Lunch,
something,
okay.
I can explain you. This is not about setting you, and that's where I said, somebody decided that 10 milliseconds should be the response time. May not be true. Let the application itself decide that what is right and what is wrong. And this
Okay.
is based on a very famous algorithm written by Walter Schuhart on basically noise cancellations though, but this is also true. How long, how bad? It may be, I mean, just crossing the threshold of 60%, maybe just and one off, maybe for a few seconds or maybe just for a second, should not give you an alarm. So there are different parameters, there are different aspects to it. I can talk about that. And what
Okay,
we talk
okay,
about is
thank you.
dynamic, differential analysis. Anything else? Any other question? Anyone? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for this patience, listening, and
Thanks, Amit. You really gave us valuable insights. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
thank you, Shumal.
Thanks, Amit. I think I now know where I should be investing if I want to increase my sales, provide a superior customer experience, and also establish a long-term loyalty with SureBank.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Amit.
So I think, Rohini, we have a fourth building block in place which will help us with our digital transformation.
Yes.
So just to do a recap, so we need to have an agile approach combined with a robust API strategy, and also have a continuous delivery mechanism in place, and combine that with what Amit just spoke about, right? Provide a higher customer experience by increasing our application performance management.
That's
Thank
true.
you for your time.
Thanks, Shumal. See you.
See you.